And let's return to the tragic outcome of yesterday's armed siege in Sydney. And joining us from Sydney live is Cheryl McLean, a close friend of Tori Johnson, the Lynn Cafe manager and one of the 2 hostages who was killed in that siege. Thank you very much for coming on the programme, Cheryl. I mean, your friend Tori was an incredibly brave man. Tell us something about him.
Tori was a dear colleague, friend, and a lot of people here just love him, and well, they did love him. He was a very quiet, soft-spoken guy, but his strength, his inner strength that came out during that siege showed his true professionalism in his job.
I know it must be very hard for you to talk about him, but one of the things that has really struck a chord with people watching this around the world is that he apparently hurled himself onto the gunman not once but twice to try and seize the gun off him. I mean, that's an incredibly brave thing to do, isn't it? I mean, I can't imagine anyone trying to do that, but he did.
He did it, and that is what is amazing, because Tori is not a gung-ho type of person. He is very much very quiet, demure guy who was very serious about his work. And he would have felt the responsibility of the lives of those people, and would have felt that it was on his shoulders to do something rather than just sit and wait. And I can imagine the thoughts that must have been going through his head when he was there with this gunman as the night wore on, and he's looking for the opportunity to do what he can to save the lives of those around him, because he just thought of his patrons and his staff first, above himself, and that's very, very typical of Tori.
And tell me, as someone who lives in Sydney, I mean, Sydney is a wonderful city, especially at this time of year. It couldn't be further removed from the so-called war on terror. It couldn't be further removed from the kind of turmoil that you see in the Middle East, and yet now this tragedy has been visited upon your city. How has that changed it?
Yes. I have never seen people crying in the streets over what has happened, because we feel we are remotely, just thankfully remote away from the terrible things that are happening elsewhere in the world. And for it to be right here in the centre of, in the heart of our beautiful, friendly, happy, peaceful city is a shock to everybody. We can't believe it, and it's suddenly brought home the fact that we're not immune to it, that we are also here facing this peril like other people in the rest of the world.
Cheryl McLean in Sydney, thank you very much for coming on the programme. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
John.